So I'd like you to imagine the actual data, right, being accumulated. And so once that's all aggregated, we can see in a very scientific process of what it actually has gotten people hired. And that's why a lot of professionals stout themselves that they're actually capable, but their approach is very singular and their perspective is singular. So we've been able to encompass a lot of wisdom simply by extrapolating these singular processes on a larger scale and actually seeing what works, right? Now, on a singular basis, there might be temperament and bias to get people hired, but when you look at it as a whole, what does actually work? I myself have had a tremendous problem with actually remaining on task. A lot of people say, "Oh wow, Casper, you're actually very productive." It's not that easy. I get distracted, and I have lots of tasks that I wish to execute upon. Though staying on task is very difficult, and I wish at all times for myself that if I had the choice, some kind of subroutine manager. Now, this is very technical speak, but someone whom I can consult. How do I stay productive? What do I do now? Where do I go? Now, I have a global idea as an individual where I should be going. Though making the next decision is very difficult. We make our task list at the beginning of the day, but if we're not looking at it, how do we come back to it in a very efficient and effective manner? And so I've actually made a simulation of this product by actually using, instead of actually investing the time in actually producing the product, actually gotten the person on the other end to synthesize how a bot would actually be responding. And in my opinion, it was the most productive that I've ever been. Your employees are not afforded the opportunity to have a personal assistant. And if you heard from any CEO about interviews, the most important person to their productivity is in fact their personal assistant. And they also have other things other qualities that actually make them very valuable to the entire organization, because they keep the CEO on task and get things moving in the right order, so the CEO doesn't have to focus on the small subroutines but can think globally. And if you think as a singular employee within an organization's process, they also have micro and subroutines which they may forget, or they may be distracted by, or more immediate pertinent things get put on their desk by their manager. And so they have to balance all that, and it can become very difficult. And how does all this communication of all these subroutines, on one side maybe there's duplicates. So I would like you to imagine a situation where Johnny, the engineer, he's going to go and do Q&A on some lines of code, or if they're a draftsman and they're working with AutoCAD, that he's actually got on his desktop a saved document where he's double checking the drafting done by a junior. But in fact, there might be two people within the organization doing the same job. And so, yes, proofing is important, but it should be structured in a way that everything, coincides nicely and there isn't any loss in time. So these are just basic examples, but you can basically extrapolate it to any subroutine or any task that need to be done within your organization. So on this task I've written, when using task apps with others, we cannot guarantee that all parties are going to be involved when necessary. And so a successful task app must be decentralized. Okay? So if, let's say there's a 100 members, okay? Or let's say 10 members, and they are all focusing on one task list. What happens is what is on the task list, people cannot agree upon what is the most pertinent, because every individual within an organization has their own process and responsibilities. So they cannot focus on the actual pertinence of certain tasks, because they themselves are responsible for certain things within the organization. So just by that single fact, from a single person's perspective, a Scrum is good at the global idea, but we don't live in global ideas. We have tasks that need to be worked on all times. And so how do we get people to, yes, the Scrum will be effective if you're engineering, though how do we expand on that, okay? Though even by able to simplify it to the individual, so they know where they need to go at any single moment. And that's the difficult part. And so that's why this product, though difficult to engineer on the back end, on the front end, makes it super easy to interact with. And that's what it should be about. It should be easy as possible. If not, there's a problem. There shouldn't be any extra communication required with people to manage the task list. And we know that collaboration requires consistency of communication. Otherwise, the tool that you're using for this collaboration will fail. If people are not consistently using the tool of collaboration as a means of communication, or communicating around it, or using it as an example, if the tool is not being used as a collaborative way, then it's dead, and it's inefficient, and it's a cancer and a parasite to people who want to get stuff done. It becomes a burden, right? And we all have that within organizations. In the past, we've been, especially if they're corporate, we've been exposed to what duties have been fulfilled today, how would you rate the work that you've done, and a lot of this sometimes even takes 30 minutes. And at the end of the day, people are not actually being totally honest about what's being written. It's because they themselves are fearful of their own problems. If they share that things have gone wrong, then they get brought into an office, and now they're brought in, and they're basically, the problem is investigated, and that makes it very uncomfortable for workers. So they don't wish to be entirely honest about what processes have been worked on and which ones have failed, right? And so it's important.